Good evening, and welcome. Tonight, we're going to take a slow and quiet journey, far back in time. A time before electricity, before central heating, before the noise of cities and highways. Imagine the world when night truly meant darkness, when the sun set and silence settled over the land like a blanket. In that stillness, families on the frontier prepared for bed, hoping to make it through another freezing winter night. This is the story of how they did it, how frontier families managed to sleep through the coldest nights without freezing. As you settle in, maybe under your own blanket, let your breathing slow. Let your mind wander to a small wooden cabin deep in the wilderness. Outside, snow falls softly. Inside, a faint fire glows. The air smells of wood smoke and pine. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls through the dark. Let's step quietly into that world, a world of handmade quilts, glowing embers, and quiet endurance. It is winter. The year might be 1820. Or perhaps 1850. It hardly matters, because the feeling is the same. Cold, deep, endless winter. You are somewhere on the American frontier, maybe in a small cabin among the trees of Kentucky, maybe on the open prairie of Nebraska, or in the shadow of mountains in the far west. The sky is pale and still. The air so cold it seems to hum. You can see your breath, even indoors. Snow piles against the cabin walls, drifting up to the windows. When the wind blows, you hear it whistle through the smallest cracks in the wood. The days are short. By late afternoon, the sun begins to sink, and the light turns gold, then gray, then gone. The darkness that follows is thick, not empty, but filled with quiet. There are no street lamps, no cars passing by, no distant hum of power lines. Just the creak of the house, the sigh of the wind, and the heartbeat of the fire. In this quiet world, warmth is precious, and sleep is something that must be protected. For frontier families, winter nights were not just for rest. They were small battles for survival, fought gently, night after night, with patience and care. Now, imagine stepping into a small log cabin. The door is thick, made by hand. When you close it, it groans softly, sealing you inside the only warm place for miles. The cabin smells of smoke, pine, and wool. It is dimly lit, perhaps by one flickering candle, or the soft orange glow of the fireplace. Every part of the cabin was built with effort. The logs were cut by hand, dragged by horse or oxen, and stacked carefully to block the wind. Between them, settlers pushed in moss, clay, or mud, anything to keep the cold from sneaking in. The floor might be made of rough boards or even packed earth. When you walk, it's solid but cold. Sometimes families laid down straw, old rugs, or animal hides to soften the chill. Inside, there might be just one room, a bed or two, a table, some wooden chairs. The cabin was their world, a tiny island of warmth in a sea of frozen quiet. When the wind howled outside, they listened to the fire instead, crackling softly, glowing steady, like a living heartbeat at the center of their lives. The fire was everything. Without it, life on the frontier would have been impossible. It cooked their food, dried their clothes, melted their water, and most importantly, kept them alive through the night. Every evening, as darkness settled, the fire would be built carefully. Logs placed in a small pyramid, kindling tucked beneath. Someone, often the mother or father, would strike flint and steel until a spark caught. Soon the room would glow with orange light, and shadows would dance on the walls. The fire gave warmth, but only to those who stayed close. Step too far away, and the chill returned. So families arranged their lives around it. Beds were placed nearby. Chairs were pulled close. The cat curled up on the warm hearthstones. At bedtime, the fire wasn't put out completely. That would be dangerous. Instead, the coals were covered gently with ashes, smothered enough to slow the burn, but not enough to kill it. By morning, the ashes would still hold a faint red glow. From that, the next day's fire could be reborn. It was a small miracle, a circle of warmth that never truly died, even through the coldest weeks of winter. When the family finally lay down to sleep, the firelight flickered across their faces. And as the wind moaned outside, they listened to the soft hiss and crackle, a sound as comforting as any lullaby. Now picture a bed in that cabin. It's not like yours. No mattress from a store, no springs, no soft sheets. A wooden frame stands in the corner, its ropes pulled tight beneath a large sack stuffed with straw, feathers, or corn husks. It smells faintly of the harvest, of fields and dry grass. Over this rough mattress, families piled layer after layer, old quilts, patched blankets, furs from animals they hunted, and heavy coats no longer worn outside. Each layer held warmth like a secret. The beds creaked when you lay on them. They weren't soft, but they were safe. In some homes, several people shared the same bed. Parents, children, maybe even a grandparent. They slept close together because body heat was precious, and in that closeness, there was comfort. Sometimes, younger children slept in drawers pulled from dressers or in cradle boxes padded with straw, small, warm pockets, easy to keep near the fire. When the night deepened and frost gathered on the windows, the weight of blankets became a kind of peace. Breathing slowed. The fire whispered, and sleep came like a quiet snowfall, gentle and slow. There's a quiet beauty in the way families shared warmth. Each night before sleeping, they gathered around the hearth, hands outstretched, palms open to the fire's glow. The youngest children might sit on the floor, wrapped in shawls, while the parents whispered softly to one another. They prepared for the night like a small ritual. Iron pots were filled with hot water, or stones were heated in the coals. These were wrapped in cloth and placed beneath blankets, small, glowing pockets of warmth that slowly cooled through the night. Even animals played their part. Dogs slept at the foot of the bed, curled tightly, their fur a gentle barrier against the cold. Cats found the warmest corners, their purring blending with the crackle of the fire. Warmth in those cabins was not only from firewood. It came from closeness, from shared breath, shared blankets, shared quiet. In the dark, you could hear the soft sound of sleeping, the slow, rhythmic breathing of a family together. It was the sound of life continuing, peacefully through the frozen world outside. When winter settled deep, people didn't just rely on blankets, they wore their warmth. Even at bedtime, they dressed in layers: long flannel shirts, wool socks, heavy underskirts, and caps to keep the cold from nipping at their ears. Some even wore gloves or mittens to bed. Frontier people often said, "Don't undress to freeze." So they slept nearly as they lived, wrapped in wool, thick and safe. Wool was prized above all. It breathed, stayed warm even when damp, and could last a lifetime. Each garment was often made by hand, knitted during long evenings by the fire while snow fell outside. There was a comfort in that, in wearing something made by your own hands or by someone you loved. A warmth deeper than temperature, and as the family lay down, you could imagine the soft rustle of fabric, the faint smell of smoke clinging to sleeves, the weight of a wool cap pulled low over tired eyes. In those quiet hours, even clothing became part of the home. One more shield against the cold, one more embrace. Life on the frontier followed the rhythm of the sun. When daylight faded, work slowed. Animals were fed and settled. Water was brought in before it could freeze. Wood was stacked near the door, ready for the night's fire. Inside, a simple meal was cooked, maybe stew or cornbread. After eating, the dishes were cleaned with warm water from the hearth. Then came a few quiet hours. Families talked softly. Sometimes they read from a worn Bible or told stories passed down through generations. Children played small games near the fire. Nothing loud, just gentle laughter and the crack of kindling. When the last candle was blown out, the room darkened completely. Only the fire's glow remained. One by one, the family said their goodnights. They pulled up the blankets, turned toward the warmth, and let their minds drift. Outside, snow might be falling again, each flake silent, each one adding to the stillness of the world. Inside, only peace remained. Open the cabin door in your mind. The night greets you instantly, sharp, cold, endless. The stars are bright and hard, scattered like frost across the black sky. The snow crunches under your boots, deep and soft. The air smells clean and wild. You can see your breath rise and fade. The world is silent, except for the wind through the trees. From where you stand, you can see your cabin, small, glowing faintly with firelight. Smoke curls slowly from the chimney. Inside, your family sleeps, wrapped in warmth, safe in their wooden cocoon. The wilderness around you feels immense, powerful, indifferent, but beautiful. And in that vast cold, the little cabin glows like a promise that human warmth, even small, can stand against nature's great silence. You close the door again. The hinges creak softly. Inside, the warmth rushes back to meet you, wrapping you like a blanket. When dawn finally comes, it comes slowly. A pale gray light seeps through frosted windows. The fire is just embers now, but still faintly glowing. You can hear someone stirring. Maybe the father, rising first to poke the coals, to coax the fire back to life. He blows gently. A thin flame flickers, then grows. The cabin begins to breathe again. Soon, the smell of smoke fills the room, followed by coffee or porridge or bacon if the family is lucky that day.